Hi there, my name's Kirsten. This is the Paper Knits podcast vlogcast. I don't know. I'm going to do a little bit of a different episode this week. It's going to be what I knit in a week. Podcasting Kirsten from the future here. If you are interested in finding out if you won the giveaway from last time, I will put a timestamp of where that will be because it'll be at the end. But I just picked them. So yeah, if you want to just jump ahead, that's fine. I know this isn't like a usual episode of what I usually do. So yeah, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I've got 2 boys. They're 7 and 9. They're still on summer holidays, and so I spend a lot of time knitting, and they spend a lot of time playing Minecraft, and that's kind of like what our day-to-day life looks like. My energy level on like any given day is like maybe like a 4. We're not going out and doing a lot of things, just mostly because I like physically and mentally cannot, and so when I can, then we do. And we'll go and do an activity. And on the weekends we do more because my husband's home. He's got a lot more like pep to his step than I do. So just kind of all that to bear in mind. I spend a lot of my time knitting. And knitting is also, I don't love the term like knitting as therapy because I feel like therapy from like a qualified psychologist is very important. But I definitely knit for my mental health. I'm kind of wondering if I should time how much time I spend knitting this week also, like while I'm doing this, because I'm kind of curious. And so if you're interested in that, stick around, and yeah, we'll see how far I get on things. I'm going to start with showing you all of my whips, like my active whips and where I'm at, and I should mark where I'm at, so then by the end of the week I can give you an update. I'm definitely not a monogamous knitter. I always have a lot of projects on the go, and partly it's because I get bored if I'm knitting on the same thing. I think I would probably finish more if I just focused on 1 or maybe 2 projects at a time. But I just really like having a lot of things on the go. And so depending on like what I'm in the mood for, and like focusing on knitting time project, or is this I'm knitting while I'm doing something else project, or I'm listening to an audiobook, or I feeling really energized about like casting on something new, and so I'm gonna do that, or whatever. I just like go with the vibes, you know, of like what I want to work on and when. And I've got knit night tonight, and so we'll see if I feel bold enough to record a little bit while I'm at knit night, but that'll be a different project than like probably what I'm working on today at home, right? If like being outside with a bunch of people chit-chatting is like different vibe than working on a colorwork chart that's like 20 stitches wide. So let's take a look at all of my projects here. Feel like I will also give you guys maybe a tour of my yarn room while I'm at it this week, because I don't know, like show off some of my stuff. Okay, project number 1. This is my Afric test. I finished the body since my last episode and I cast on for a sleeve, and so I'm on sleeve number 1. Let's mark where I'm at. I am anticipating that I will finish the sleeves this week. However, I really like knitting small circumferences like on a small circumference needle. I do not have the right size of needle for doing the color work on this, and so I was having to use a very long circular needle. It's like, I think it's, these Addy needles are terrible for reading what the sizes are. Oh, it's horrible. Okay. It's a 6mm, 100 centimeter. Ugh. So it's like, it's much too long. It's so annoying. Doing color work on, like doing magic loop and doing color work, I don't enjoy that. So thankfully it's just like the color work sections are short. It's not, how many rows is it? 13, 14 rows. And so that helps. But anyway, so yeah, that's where I'm at with that one. I feel like I'm making a lot of progress on my half and half triangles wrap. I should have marked where I was the last time because I feel like I've like knit quite a bit on it. This will probably be what I bring to knit night. I usually bring 2 projects to knit night though, because yeah. Anyways, it looks like I'm almost done. Last I counted, I had 59 more rows to do. which actually is double that. So 118 more rows to go. And so it looks like I'm almost done. Like that's out of 260. But, which also is that out of then 520? I tried to do all the math to figure out how many stitches this is. I'll say it later because I don't have my iPad down here with me right now. Anyways, I think I calculated like 13,000 stitches to go or something still out of a total 100,000 some. I'll show you the exact numbers later. I was curious. And anyways, it's coming. This will not be done this week, but it will be done soon. My ball of yarn is starting to collapse. It's like I'm using it up. But I have to use up the rest of that ball plus go into a third ball before I'm done. So I got more vinegar, and so I want to wash my skein of yarn like I mentioned last time. I'm going to skein it up, soak it in some vinegar, wash it. I'd like to do that. Need to rewash these, I should say. This is my Norse Vintage Afghan 4 blocks that I am going to sew together to make into like a pillow cover. And there was a lot of dye bleeding. I soaked them in vinegar, and I should have washed them with soap afterwards to get all the dye out, or to get all the vinegar out. But I didn't because I didn't want that to make the dye bleed more. And I have to do it. Like, yeah. And then I started thinking, is it bad for the yarn for it to have vinegar like clearly in it, as it's just like sitting on my shelf? I don't know, like I feel like over time that leftover acid could cause issues with the fiber. So, oh, here's my brioche chevron blanket. I got a couple more repeats done since my last podcast episode when I first showed it, but this is a slow going one, but let's mark to see where we're at. This is my Winter Woods sweater, and I haven't been working on this one much since I started the Afric test, but I am like 4 rounds into the next major motif, and that's the one that's like quite a wide motif that I have to really pay attention to what I'm doing because I have messed it up a couple times. I spent the other day, I like knit a round of it, and it's like on the largest part of the yoke, right? It's like we're done all the increases. I think maybe there's one more set of increases after this chart, something like that. But it's like basically as like the most number of stitches you have on a sweater, and that's like where the biggest chart is. So it's like looks really nice, but it's just a lot of stitches. So I do like 1 round and then it's like, okay. But I spent quite a bit of time the other day balling up a bunch of my Newton because I'm holding it double stranded, and the like plates were getting out of control, and so that was nice to kind of get that wound up. So yeah, that's where that one's at. I have 1 bazillion stitch markers on this to mark out all of my pattern repeats, and so, but hopefully I'll remember what that 1 bulb stitch marker was for. Next up is a project that I have never even shown you guys, but I started working on again this week. So this is Dahe Sera, which apparently means starlight in Estonian. So that's fitting with this pattern. This is a shawl by Alex Bird that I started in December or November, and obviously have not been working on a ton. It uses the Rosamina inlay technique that I took a class with Alex at Knit City Calgary last year, and this was one of her samples that she had brought along, and it was just like so lovely and I wanted it, so I bought all of the same yarn for it, different color, and it's just so lovely. So I picked it up again this week for some reason, and I have like knit all of this. Like I'd had like this chunk done, and I've like basically doubled what I had knit, and it's definitely like I feel like I'm in more of a rhythm of it now. I had to briefly look up her video tutorial again about how to do the stranding technique, but then it came right back to me, and it's been fine. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that one. Let's see. I have to go find some more ball markers here. Okay, I haven't done any more on my double knit button band for my Riggy's Cardi, so I probably won't work on that this week. What else do I have on the go? Sweet Shop blanket, probably won't work on that. My Ignis sweater vest, probably won't work on that. That's probably all of them. Oh, although I'm going to cast on a new project today. So I'm teaching a couple of classes this fall at the Fiber Nook, which is my favorite local yarn store that I talk about all the time. And Jolene from Jolene Knits a Lot is in charge of like running, like organizing the classes and stuff. She's a podcaster on YouTube too, and is on Instagram. And she's like one of the first podcasters I started watching. So anyways, she organizes all the classes. And so she'd asked if I would be interested. I was like, yeah. So I'm going to teach an introduction to cable class using the antler toque pattern by Tin Can Knits. And so I need to knit one. I'm going to knit a couple probably. So I'm going to pick out some yarn for that today. I woke up this morning at, I don't know, my kids were in my bed at like 5:30 this morning, and sometimes I sleep through that and my husband gets up with them, but I woke up this morning, so, and my brain started thinking about all of my yarn bins and like, oh, where's that one yarn that I want? And like, oh, what if I did this for this? Or like, what about this one? And started thinking through yarns for that, for my sample for that. So I'm going to pick that today and hopefully cast on. And yeah, so there's all my whips. Don't have anything on the loom right now. I have a new fun thing to show you that maybe I will do later this week. We'll see. And let's get to it. I have to decide now. What am I going to knit on this morning? I think my Afric. And I am watching YouTube podcasts. So here we go. This is what my basket looks like with all of my different yarns. 4 colors holding a ball of yarn plus mohair. It's like gotten a little bit chaotic sometimes. This sad little cake of mohair. I'm worried it's going to just turn into a tangle ball. Okay, I have finished the next color work section with my long needles and all of my ends, and it took me 52 minutes, and now I'm gonna do something else. Let's pick some yarn for an antler toque. Here's my knitting room. Here's the new thing that I was gonna show you. I'll tell you more about it later. This shelf is new as of like a couple of weeks ago. I used to just have this one to put all of my yarn in. That's a lie. And then I had a tall open shelf that was also filled with stuff. This dresser, which belonged to my grandparents, that's full of fabric mostly and some other like miscellaneous stuff. And here's all of my yarn. So let me show you a little bit. I've kind of labeled them, but I don't have a good sense of what is what, like where everything is. I had a really good system in my other shelf there. And so I knew like what every skein of yarn was in every bin. And I used to have 2 more bins on. I had books in there, more yarn in there, and then those 2 also had yarn, but I stole the bins and put them in my shelf here so that I could have my little pattern. So let's take a look. I'm just gonna give you a little tour. So these 2 bins are full of spinning fiber. Here's all my sock yarn. It's like some full skein, some leftovers, a bunch of sock tubes, which don't have heels or toes. These 2 are whips. So it's like, these are the ones that I showed in my like languishing whips video. And then these are ones that are like a little bit more active. Like, well, that's a lie. I haven't knit on this in ever. This is the farm skirt. This is the toque that I knit that I need to rip out. But this bin also had a couple skeins of this Barocco Vintage, which is a worsted weight yarn. 52% acrylic, 40% wool, 8% nylon. And so this purple one was one of my ideas for making an antler toque for myself. I would also like a gray one, but I think the gray is too dark to just show like well in a pattern, like in a class setting. There's also some Durham Natura in here, which would be maybe good for that. Sweater quantity of yarn, Farmer's Daughter Fibers, really old yarn that I got from a shop here in Alberta that was closing. So it's Serpishkin DK, but it's like an old version of it. This is a sweater's quantity of Peer Gynt and this like cute like rainbow confetti. And then my Ancient Arts Heritage that I bought last year at Knit City Calgary. Okay, this one's another sweaters quantity. Oh, there's all that Lannis Light that I mentioned earlier. I got an Lannis regular size, a couple of those, because I was going to use it with a bunch of my sock yarn to make a sea glass something from Wool and Pine, but just never got around to doing that. This is yarn that I bought to make a vest out of the Shetland Wool Week book from last year. And then I didn't really like my colors. And so this was disappointing. I got it at Christmas this past year. And yeah, I just don't really like how they go together. This is, you can't really tell right now. This is like a really dark navy. And then, yeah, I just don't feel like this one fits. So that was disappointing. So it's kind of sat. This was an order from Ancient Arts at Christmas. The Revival base and then their mohair base. And I was going to hold these together and make, I'm not gonna remember what the name of the pattern is right now. The Andrew Mary one with the cables like up the kind of like sides. I really like how I like paired up my color combination. I think they go together perfectly. They're different, like they're not the same colorway, but I think that they match really well because the colorway that actually went with this dyed color was much lighter. Though it like had the same colorway name on it. So I think they pair up really well together. I don't think I like the color for me. Like I think it's too pink. I wanted it to be a bit more purple. And so every once in a while I like re-look up different patterns that I want to make with it. I have like a very specific idea in mind of what I want it to look like. But I just don't know if I like the color. So this one, unspun wool. So my two plates that I got from McCausland's. But actually I got it from Crux Fibers last year at Knit City Calgary. My leftover knit collage from my, what was that cardigan called? Pixel cardigan? Pixelated? Something like that. And then just has some like random leftovers of different projects. Oh, and some Briggs and Little, which would also be an option for the toque. This might be an option. It's Brisk, I believe, which is also, it's kind of like a finer, I think it's listed as worsted weight, but I think it's a little bit actually finer than that one. This is like little like, you know, bits and bobs from other woolly sweaters. This one is all of my hand spun and all of my spin cycle. One day I will show you all of my hand spun that I have never knit with before. Okay, another bin that says sweaters quantity. Once upon a time, I bought the full rainbow's worth of Shepya's, ooh, that one's not it, but whatever. The Shepya's Metropolis. Because I was gonna, my husband, my son wanted rainbow pants. Not my husband. My husband did not want rainbow pants. My son wanted rainbow pants. And I bought the yarn and then never used it. So, empty. These boxes also have really miscellaneous yarn in them, slash like a quilting project, and all of my like epic yarn, that one yarn base that I keep talking about is in there. That blue box right here is like mostly empty. Those are two sweaters quantities that I bought last year. One of them for my Luma pullover, which has since been used. Another one for a sweater for my dad that I'm planning. My Brooklyn Tweed Arbor is in this one, which I am going to be using right away here for a test knit. That's my bin of scraps, like all my like yarn ends and stuff. I collect them for some reason. And down there we have my Lopi yarn, which I'm going to pull out because that was my other thought. And then the very bottom one is like old acrylic that I've used to make Christmas stockings and stuff. And yeah, so I'm going to pull out the Lopi one. I thought I had one more that just, I think this green one here has just like woolly wool in it. So let me grab those. Oh yeah. So this one has other very, like some of the first yarn that I bought once I was like, I'm a knitter. This is left over from the very first sweater that I knit for myself. This is left over from a sweater that I knit for my kids. Actually, that is now in my first weaving project. And yeah, just some other miscellanea. I don't think I have enough of this to make the toque with. In theory, that is still what I'm doing, is looking for toque yarn. This one might work. 100 meters per 50 grams. That might be too thin. I'm overwhelmed in leftover yarn. Obviously, I have a lot of sweaters quantity, but I also have a lot of this stuff that's just like partial balls that I have a tough time knowing what to do with. So, okay, let me show you my last of my yarn bins, okay? So, this one has also a bunch of partial skeins from leftover projects. And yeah. This one's woolly wool. I have another one that is leftover. Oh yeah, that's for my blanket that I'm doing right now. That brioche chevron. That's for my Afric. That's for my sweet shop blanket. Oh man, look how much leftover of this red I had from my alchemy pullover. One of these ancient arts ones might be DK weight though. Apparently I don't have a lot of worsted weight yarn. Those are all DK. That's like fingering weight, obviously not that. Just seeing what it was. This one's Erin. This is Peer Gynt, which is for a baby sweater for Beth. I'm not making a toque out of that, but I just have a lot of leftovers. Yeah. Leftover superwash and acrylic. It's DK. Let's check my stash on Ravelry and see what it says I have. This is the one I've been looking. I don't know where this is. I should have a skein of green worsted weight left over from making a toque for my nephew. And that's what a sweater. I could make him a matching toque. That could be one of my projects. I could make a smaller one for him. Wanted to have a couple different samples, so sometimes it's hard for me to make decisions. I'm gonna search for that green skein. That's what I was thinking this morning at 5 a.m. 5:30 was about that green skein. I'm gonna find it. Okay, I found it. It was in one of the bins on my big shelf. I just didn't look deep enough into it. So there's 77 grams left. I'm gonna make a child-sized toque. He's 2. He's not quite a baby. I have enough. I barely have enough. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna do it. Okay. I gotta go get lunch first. Let's do that. Really? Are you sure it's not on the path? That's where it sounds like to me. Oh. Okay. Well, we had a really nice time sitting outside until we didn't anymore. So we had a really stressful time getting back inside the house. But I finished the ribbing and on to the next thing. Also, I for sure would have forgotten to change needle sizes if I was not stopping to like tell you about it. I finished my first repeat of the cables and now we have moved on to the laying down portion of the day. So I'm doing my New York Times crossword puzzles, like the Wordle and the spelling bee, and maybe I'll do a crossword school Instagram for a while. Okay, welcome to Wednesday afternoon. We had a bit of a slow start this morning. There was a big storm last night in the middle of the night, and like a huge clap of thunder woke up 3 of 4 of us. And I thankfully was able to go back to sleep pretty quickly, but it was just a bit disruptive. And we spent the morning learning about lightning and about electricity and what happens if lightning hits your house and all that with my kid. I did not film at midnight. I did take off my socks before I got there and brought them with me because it did get a bit chilly. We were sitting outside, but I got a lot of knitting done on my antler too. So let me show you. I had done, I can't remember what I said, 1 or 2 repeats of the cable chart yesterday afternoon. And now I'm, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So I'm ready to start the decreases, but I'm trying to decide. It looks very tall and narrow. So I got my 7-year-old to try it on. This is the child size. There's like baby, child, small adult, large adult. And my nephew's 2. So this is like a little bit tight for my 7-year-old. Might be too big for the 2-year-old, you know, but I just feel like it's too tall. But when I stretch it, it obviously shrinks down. And the gauge in the pattern is given just over stockinette. And so I'm going to measure, like I have a little chunk of reverse stockinette. So I'm going to measure that, but it's like 1 inch wide. So like give me like ish an idea of where I'm at with my gauge. Because I'm wondering if I want to take out one of the cable repeats before I start doing the decreases. We'll see. I should figure out how many rows the decreases are supposed to be. So let's see. Okay, so am I like super janky measuring? I'm getting like 4.5 stitches per inch. So I'm right on gauge. Obviously that's super accurate, right? 18 stitch gauge. Let's measure my rows. So 30 rows per 4 inches. It's a 6-row repeat. And I did 5 rounds of that. So that was 30 rounds. So that should be, their gauge should be 5 inches long, and mine is less than that, just barely. 24 over 4 equals 30 over x. Should be 5 inches tall. But also, like, if I stretch this out, it like shrinks quite a bit. You know how many toques I've knit that don't fit? Like, so many. So I'm gonna leave it. Some other Tin Can Knits toques that I have knit, this is saying with a big disclaimer of, I don't know what my gauge was, but it has not, I found that I've needed to add length to it because I felt like it didn't sit low enough to like cover my ears where I wanted it to be. And so if this is feeling too long, like that's the opposite problem of what I usually have. And so like maybe that means it'll be fine. So I'm going to start the decreases. I did keep a timer all day yesterday of all my knitting I did. My son had an appointment this morning and I knit for like 20 minutes maybe during that this morning. So I'll add that to my timer for today. But otherwise it's 1:07 and this is my, I'm sitting down to knit time finally. Soon do some cable decreases, which I've never done before. Decreases within the cable. So there's some between the cables in the reverse stockinette section, but then there's also some within the cable itself. Also last night, this was good practice for me working on this at knit night because I messed up a few times and like put the cables in the wrong place, and so then I had to drop down and fix them, which I've done before. And these are pretty simple. They're just like 2x2 cables, but it was good practice for me to, I had to do it a couple of times. And I think that we're all good now. I should double check that before I continue, but they're all in the right place now. So that's what I get for gabbing while I'm knitting cables, and knitting cables by memory because I didn't bring the pattern, and normally that's not my greatest skill set. So I was also practicing using the cable needle because normally I do cables without a cable needle. And I think on my next one, I'm going to practice trying to do it knitting English style instead of knitting continental, because I have never done cables knitting English style before. So I will try that out and see if I can do it. I was trying to teach myself how to do ribbing English style. I forgot to set my knitting timer. Also, who has downloaded the Focus Friend app from Hank Green that he just put out the other day? Where you like put your phone on focus mode and then the little bean in your phone knits while you're trying to focus on something. I will do that right now. Sure. How long should we focus for right now while I'm knitting this? Let's do 30 minutes. Don't interrupt me. Okay. Why does it look so weird? See if I can weave in my little tiny tail from my cast on edge. There, done. If I stretch it, it looks right. Like this, it looks a little bit derpy, but I will block it. Maybe I will block it on a balloon to help it be a bit more round. Antler toque 1. Done. Let's see what my bean made. Her name's Lemon. I don't know why. 34 socks. Nice work. Like I said yesterday that there was only 2 colorwork sections on the sleeve, but there's not. There's 3. So I have this one to knit again, and then I think my sleeves will be long enough. So I will tackle that right now. Also, these ones are a little bit better. I was going to say before, I have this way. Okay. So I mostly use Chow needles and have a combination of fixed circulars and interchangeables. And I bought a bunch of larger sizes in Addy needles because they were on sale. And so all of my larger size needles are Addy. I don't like them. So when I was knitting the cables, the needle tips of these ones are really dull compared to the ChowGoo ones. And so when I switched to my ChowGoo to do the magic loop for the top, it was just like such a sharper tip needle and way easier. And yeah, like I don't want to use these. I have to use this one for magic loop for my sleeve. I do think this one is a sharper tip. These are the squared ones. And so then they're like a bit of a different shape. And so the needle tip might be a different shape. Also because this is a long one versus a shorter one. Anyways, I don't like these, and I think I just should sell them and replace them with the ChowGoo ones because I don't knit at this gauge that often. And so I have a full set of multiple interchangeable needles from like 2mm up to 4mm, and then a variety of fixed needles in that range as well, because that's what I like to use for sleeves, is like 16-inch circulars, and I have a handful of 9-inch circulars and a couple 12-inch circulars, and that's just what I prefer to use. And so why struggle with a tool that I don't enjoy? I think I could sell them. There's other people who only use Addy needles, and so yeah. Anyways, now I have to tackle more color work with my long needle that I don't like doing, but it'll be fine. I wound up the rest of my mohair that I had so that it wouldn't get all tangly while I was knitting with it, which I think is better. This is, oh yeah, I was gonna double check. I don't know if I have another little ball of this color or if I only bought one. This is all I have left. I should double check and see what all I bought. Okay, I do have another one. Okay, that's better. I don't know where it is at the exact moment, but I do have one, so. Okay, today's Thursday. Definitely did not have a lot of knitting time yesterday. It was primarily a horizontal day. I got a couple of rounds done on my sleeve after I last spoke to you, and yeah, that was pretty much it. So feeling better today. It's the afternoon now. I was going to do some knitting this morning, but I took my kids to like a climbing gym. I was planning to just sit and knit while they were climbing, but I was following them around and watching them, and they were through the course of the hour very, getting closer and closer to the top every time. And so by the end, they both made it to the top, and they were quite excited about that. And my older son did it a couple of times, and it was fun. So no knitting time. My half and half triangles wrap just went on a little field trip with us, but that was all. So, and then tonight my husband and I are going to go for supper. Probably won't bring my knitting along for that. I don't like knitting in restaurants. So we'll see. I'm going to sit down now and watch the latest Grocery Girls episode. I've got my lunch here. Yesterday's lunch was popcorn and Rice Krispie squares. Today it's homemade chicken Caesar salad, which is probably gonna fuel me a little bit better, but it's tough when I have no energy to make myself food, so then I don't eat, which then contributes to me not having any energy. So it's, yeah, kind of a vicious cycle sometimes. But I also was feeling aware, probably one day I will go into more about hey, why do I just need to lay down all day sometimes? But that's not this day. One day I'll talk about it more, but I'll just vague post about it right now. But there's just, you're seeing more of my day-to-day life right now. I did put on a knit today. This is my Anuka tank. It's sunny today, but it's windy and chilly. So this was perfect for a knit vest. And plus I not in pajamas, so that's nice. Yeah, I'm gonna eat my lunch and then hopefully do some knitting here. Just as I was finishing my lunch and I got my area ready to start knitting, Birdie hopped up onto my lap. Obviously I could not disturb her, and so the only project that I could reach was my shawl, my Rosamina one, and so I'm gonna knit a little bit of it. And if you want to watch, obviously this is not a tutorial about how to do it, but you can see kind of what the technique looks like. So I gotta catch up now to actually where the pattern is, but here we go. Birdie hopped off, and so I moved my camera so I could show you this a little bit better. Just in case you are curious of how this technique works, this is not a tutorial. This is just for interest's sake if you're curious. So on my current round, my yarn is on the wrong side where I need it to be. And so you just make a loop and drape it to the front. Actually, that's a lie. First I need to knit. I need to pay attention to what my pattern is saying for me to do. You drape it to the front and then put it at the back. And then I've got my chart beside me telling me what to do, how many stitches to do. And so then you take that yarn that's on the front and drape it to the back. And now I have my little float on the front. And so that one was 3 stitches, and then I knit 3 more stitches, and then I bring it to the front. And then back to the back again. So that's how we make all these little floats across the front. So I'm not holding, this isn't knitted, it's not formed into a knit stitch at all, and I'm not holding it at the same time. It's just kind of there waiting for me when it's time to use. You grab it and flip it whichever direction it's supposed to be. And then you just make sure that it's not pulled too tight or anything. You can kind of adjust the tension a little bit, but once you get a few rows past, then it's tough to adjust the tension. But there we go. So that's, I just knit my 1 row of pattern. And that also means then that there's floats on the back side. And so it's kind of reversible. You can see some of my floats are a bit loose back there. Also, something that's nice about this particular pattern is that there's increases to make it into a shawl, but at the start and end of the round, stitch pattern stays the same width the whole time. And then you're just increasing these outer edges to make the width of the shawl. And so it's kind of nice because the part that takes the longest doesn't take any longer on row 1 versus on row 100. You just end up knitting more and more of this seed stitch pattern. You'll also notice now I have this loop of yarn here, but I need my yarn to be back here again when I knit it back around to work the next row. And so what you do is you just very carefully feed that extra. That was from that loop I did at the front. And you just feed it back to here, which is my yarn that's actually attached to the ball. So now when I knit back around to start the next pattern row, then it'll be ready for me to knit from. So this is why sometimes my tension's been getting a bit off if I'm not pulling it quite right across. But yeah, that's how it goes. Okay, that was an hour of knitting. Most of that, well, all of the knitting time was, that's better. All of that knitting time was with Birdie on my lap, except for just now when I was just showing you that little bit. And I was kind of like twisted funny because there was a cat on my lap and I didn't want to disturb her. But I need a little break now. So I'm going to skein up that yarn that I want to soak in vinegar and then get it soaking. Actually, now that I'm standing, I decided I'm going to do something else first. I'm going to move my knitting machine. So let me tell you about my knitting machine. This is a Tassap Duomatic 80 double bed knitting machine from the 80s, I believe. And I owned this machine a couple of years ago and I knit a few things on it. It was pre-podcast. And actually when I first got this, I was like starting to feel like I wanted to start a podcast and had like started filming some stuff and then never actually like put it out there. And so then, yeah, quite a few months later, then I actually did it. But by that point I'd sold the machine. I had it for about a year, really high learning curve. And I was just frustrated about it. It was right after Beth had died. I was like, I don't need this in my life anymore. It's like taking up a lot of space. I sold it and quite quickly was like, I should have kept it. I was feeling aware of like how much it had cost and it was just going to sit there and collect dust. I was not in the right headspace to be like trying to figure it out. Like I knit quite a few things on it. Well, I had it, but it was tough. It's tough to learn. And you might remember that earlier, well, a year ago, pretty much exactly, I very spontaneously bought a circular sock machine for $1 bazillion. Even higher learning curve on that one for me. Didn't go well. Never made anything really that successful on it. Sold that. But this popped up on Facebook Marketplace from somebody in Edmonton. I sold mine to somebody in Calgary. And this is the exact same machine, except it's a bit nicer. And so somebody was selling it here. And so I messaged her immediately and went that day and picked it up. And that was like maybe 3 weeks ago now. And it's mostly just been sitting here. We like got it set up. And I tried to cast on something, immediately like ran into the same issue I always had with it before. And I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, we remember. And it's just been sitting here now. I need to be in the right headspace to figure it out. Anyways, all that to say, I'm going to move it to a different part of my room because it's currently in the way and it was starting to stress me out. And there's a big pile of stuff over here. I'm going to clean it. Okay. I don't know why I've been standing like this whole time to talk to you. Anyways, here we go. play as a functioning person and go for supper with my husband. And I'm wearing my stone crop cardigan. Oh, and I'm wearing my hinterland dress that I sewed. So, knit fit. Hello, I'm back at my couch again, ready to knit. Today's gonna be the day. Today's gonna be the knitting day. I can feel it. I'm feeling normal. I'm feeling like I have energy today. Just had some breakfast. Didn't sleep in super late. It's 10:30. I'm about to start knitting, not 1:30. Today's gonna be the knitting day. My husband and I had a really nice supper out last night. We went to a place called Range Road. It's like a local Edmonton restaurant that does very like local sourced everything. It's like quite a fancy restaurant. And we've been there twice before, maybe like over the last 10 years. And it's just like every bite of food is so good. Like I just enjoy it so much. So that was a nice little treat last night. We decided like yesterday afternoon that that's where we were gonna go, and they happened to have a reservation available, and yeah, it was really nice. So yeah, we had a really good meal. And then I had to come home and deal with my soaking wool blocks that I had left. So I like soaked the yarn in the vinegar solution. There was definitely some dye bleed from the yarn, even after soaking in the 50% vinegar for quite a few hours. So I wonder if maybe I should have washed it first, because the wool wash took out so much of the dye when I was doing my little samples. So I wonder if I should have washed it first with wool wash, then done the vinegar soak, and then washed again, which is what I've ended up doing now with my squares that I finished knitting. And so I did soak those again. I gave them a wash in wool wash, and there was still a little bit of dye bleed, but mostly like what you'd expect. Like if you were washing something that's like a really dark saturated color and there's like a little bit of dye coloration in the water, nothing like before. So they've definitely more set. Fingers crossed they don't still have vinegar in them. They didn't smell vinegary. They smelled like wet wool, and yeah, they will dry relatively quickly. My yarn, I put in for another soak of vinegar overnight. And so this morning now I will check that and see how it's doing, give it a wash, and then that'll have to hang to dry. But it feels good to kind of get that taken care of. I don't have to worry about these squares anymore sitting in vinegar, like left in the fiber. And yeah, I don't know yet what I'm going to knit on. I think my Afric. Okay, here's my beautiful laundry room again. Smells like vinegar in here, that's for sure. Okay, this is the second soak. Definitely less dye coming out of those compared to yesterday. Okay. Yeah, definitely less. So I'm going to take those out and wash them now with some wool wash. You can see my skein ties. I don't know if you can tell that much, but they were gray. Now they're pink. Okay, I just rinsed them. And then just added some wool wash. So much dye still bleeding. Ugh. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. Okay, I finished a sleeve. Did the sewn Italian bind off on the cuff. I'm already covered in mohair from trying it on. But yeah. I am not going to immediately pick up the next sleeve, I don't think. Do I want to do that? I do just have like some plain, you know what, maybe I'm going to pick it up and knit the plain stockinette. And then once I get to the colorwork section, I'll put it aside. I think I'll do that. Okay, I actually didn't stop after I finished the stockinette section and got the first colorwork section done. There was still more to watch on the podcast I was watching, and I just kept going. So then that podcast finished, and then I started another one. I've been watching Flock recaps. Now I'm on to the stockinette section again. I'm gonna take a break, go have some lunch. Man, color work on a small circumference with magic loop and having to like stop and start different colors multiple times. Whew, I don't enjoy that. I like working color work. I don't like this. Gonna pause there for now and go have some lunch. That was 2 hours and 3 minutes. So pause my timer. Okay, I just got to my next color work section on my sleeve. Finished the stockinette, the plain stockinette area. I went to go look for my other ball of mohair to go with this color, and I can't find it. So I like went back and double checked in my email to make sure I did order 2. I did. I have, from what I can tell, all of my yarn tags, like ball bands from the mohair. I have one of that acorn color here. Presumably the other one is attached to the ball of yarn somewhere. Since I purchased this yarn, I have rearranged my knitting room, and so I'm worried it got stuck someplace that I'm not sure where that is. So I have to do some searching, I guess, for it. It is somewhere in here. I thought it was in the bag that had the rest of the blue. It's not in there. So I was all set to dive into the next colorwork section, but I guess I have to do some cleaning first. Success. Found it. My son helped me. Okay, K-pop Demon Hunters is finished. The boys are in bed. I did knit a little bit while we were watching it, but then they were a little bit scared watching the movie, and so they like were both sitting on top of me essentially. So anyways, now they're in bed. I'm back to knitting and watching Gossip Girl, and it's like the cute little pictures of my husband when he was little. I also discovered that I had dropped a stitch at some point. It had ran down quite a few rows, and so I felt it underneath my thumb as I was coming across. So I was like right here, and I could feel a spot that was loose underneath my thumb. It's kind of interesting because I wouldn't have seen it necessarily. So it doesn't look, my like laddering back up again. Laddering up in garter is such a pain. It doesn't look very good, but I think it'll even out. With the blocking, I might come through and just tighten up this loose bit. Surprisingly, I have not done that very many times, knitting this whole thing. Hello from Saturday afternoon. I did a little bit of knitting this morning. I got the next colorwork section of my Afric done, and I took my kids to a birthday party, and so they are there for a little bit longer. I set myself an alarm so that I don't have to worry about getting like stuck in my knitting zone and then scrambling to go and pick them up. So let me show you what I did. So this is the second colorwork section. A few rows of my stockinette done, and then I will be ready to not have to do colorwork with multiple balls of yarn, multiple colors of yarn, magic loop. I'm also sitting here watching the Crabea podcast while I'm knitting one of her patterns, just because why not? Okay, I finished it. So good riddance to that. I have to do like a couple of rounds of just plain, and then I'll move to the smaller needle, and then I'll be done. It's done. Except for all of that. Okay, I was out doing a couple errands. I went to Gather Textiles to pick up my next weaving project order. Actually, I think I bought for 3 projects, and I'm pretty sure I wrote it down. So I'd ordered online and then just went to go pick it up, and so did that, wandered around the store a little bit, looked at all the samples, and it was just like so lovely. I've looked through, they have a bunch of patterns through their weaving courses online, so I've looked through a bunch of the patterns, but then like getting to see the samples in person was really great, and like feel them, and like I asked a couple questions about different materials. It was really lovely. So, and then I just went to the Fiber Nook to mostly because the Forever Canadian petition was there today. Yes, there's some people in Alberta who think that Alberta should leave Canada, and there's a whole bunch more people who think Alberta should stay in Canada. And so there's currently a petition going to put forward a referendum question to state that Alberta should stay in Canada. So there's different pop-up locations. You have to sign the petition in person. And so the Fiber Nook had one today, so I went and did that. But then I also picked up some mohair because I'm going to hold this with a skein of yarn I have at home to make my next antler toque sample. So I'm gonna do that. Also, I should have taken a picture. My name is up on the board in the store for the cable class coming up. So that's kind of fun. Anyways, back home to do some knitting. I'm outside working on my half and half triangles wrap, and it looks like I'm almost done because I have very many more stitches I need to do. But I calculated how long it was taking me to do each row, and I think I have about 7 hours of knitting left. So still quite a bit. Hello from Monday. I have just finished my second ball of yarn for my light purple of my half and half triangles wrap. So now I need to wind up another ball, and so I've been avoiding that for like an hour. But I'm so close. And yet so far, I think I have 30, how many was it? 30 rows maybe left, but it's actually like 60 rows then. And yeah, I just feel like I'm really close. So I also swatched for my next test knit, which is for Ellis Knitwear. I can't think what the pattern's called right now, but I'm gonna use my Brooklyn Tweed Arbor collection. So this was my first swatch, but it's too tight. Like, look how beautiful that is though. And then I need to steam them still just to double check, but I think this one will be good. So yeah. So I did that last night and then finished one up this morning. I've been watching Summer I Turned Pretty. Yeah, it's been kind of funny timing my knitting because normally, oh, I also wove in the ends on my Afric. So I did that yesterday, I think. It took me 1.5 episodes of the Summer I Turned Pretty. That's like usually how I like quantify how long I've knit, is like how many YouTube podcasts did I watch, how many episodes of whatever show I'm watching did I get through. But now I also like have the time amount, so that's been kind of interesting. And I've been remembering, I think, every time to turn on my timer, which has never happened before. I've attempted to time like my knitting before and I just always forget. So anyways, I'm gonna wind up this yarn. My winding process is easy because I have an electric ball winder, but I just still don't enjoy it there that much. So I'm going to wind that up and attach my new ball. And I kind of feel like I should try and finish this. Like, if I count, I guess technically today would be the end of my like week of knitting because I started on Tuesday. But if I went until the end of day tomorrow, like, I might be able to finish it. Like, that would be exciting to get this off the needles. So yeah, we'll see. I gotta find my ball of yarn though, so I will do that. Okay, we've made it to the end. My 1 week of knitting, what I've knit in a week. Technically today is Thursday, but I did not do any knitting on these projects in the last 2 days. So this will be everything that I knit from August 19th to August 26th. I did include that full day on the Tuesday because I was like really motivated to try and get my half and half triangles shawl done. But here we go. Here's an update. So my Brio chevron blanket. This is where I was, and you can see how far I got, which was 2 repeats, and it probably took me 2 hours. So obviously this will be a slow project, but I do feel like I'm in a good rhythm with it. The fabric is very squishy, and I need to do a little bit of figuring out of like when I want to change colors and all of that, but this was a good kind of pick it up when I wasn't sure what else to work on kind of thing. And yeah, got my couple of repeats done on that one. Okay, next up here is my Tahasera shawl. And this, I also feel like I worked on it quite a bit, but didn't get a ton of progress done on it. There's my progress marker was, and so I got probably like, I don't know, 5 or 6 rounds done, maybe if that, but it's coming. It's like a little like kerchief size right now, but it's actually going to be a like big shawl. So it's coming. Do you like my little stitch stoppers that are on it? Also, I have this in her leather co bag, and it just like fits perfectly my little balls of yarn right now. It won't fit for much longer because the project's getting bigger and bigger, but I just think it looks so nice. Like the colors match the like navy blue leather. I really like it. So yes. Okay, this one wasn't knitting, but it was things I worked on, which was blocking all of my squares for my what will be a pillowcase and washing that yarn 1 bazillion times. That surprisingly are not super tangled with how much I washed them and then how much I was like dunking them in the water to try and rinse it all out and all of that. There, I will wind it very carefully when I wind it back up again, but that is washed. Doesn't smell like vinegar. Smells a bit like wool wash. It was still bleeding. It'll be fine. I'm gonna sew my blocks together next and then decide what my next step will be. But we'll see if my fingers turn purple while I'm sewing it together. Probably not. Also, let's see if I can show you this again. So the bottom was what the color of the skein tie was before, and what's actually attached to the skein is the color that it got dyed, like sitting in the bath with it. So yes, obviously I'm glad that I did not continue on my plan for this project and have this other like lighter colored yarn alongside it, but feeling a little bit discouraged about this. Can you tell? I finished my antler toque sample. I haven't blocked it yet, but that was a cast on and cast off within a day pretty much, and I've actually cast on my second sample. That's what I worked on yesterday. That didn't count. It's like in my week of knitting. But yeah, so that was nice to get that done. Feel like I got a good lay of the land for the pattern. Tried out some different techniques for the cables. I'm gonna try while I'm doing my next sample, I'm gonna try another way of doing the cabling without a cable needle, because I know there's some different ways to do it. And I feel like one of the takeaways from the class is gonna be, you gotta find which way works best for you, and that's all that really counts. So yeah, little antler toque finished. Okay, and then my winter woods, I think I got 2 rounds done on this. Let's find where my little marker was. Oh my gosh, I did 1 round. Is that true? I don't even know if I worked on this even one time. I thought I did 1 round on it. But my stitch marker is like on an active stitch right now. So maybe I didn't do anything. It would have been like right at the start of the week. And I don't think I filmed any of that. So maybe I didn't do it at all. That's fine. This will be the next big sweater finish, minus the test knit that I also swatched for, which I will show you now. I haven't done anything else on it besides the swatches. I haven't washed them yet, but when I first started knitting the swatch at the larger gauge, I was worried that it was going to be too loose. But once I finished the swatch, and now I think in anticipating of blocking it, I think it's going to be good. So I am looking forward to casting this on right away here. So my half and half triangles wrap, I did not finish it. I am very close. So, and I knit a ton on this. So you can see my little progress keeper there. That is multiple inches of knitting of 200 stitches per row. I have 16 more short rows to do. So 32 more rows. I can finish this like in no time, I feel like. And in no time, I mean I'm trying to think of how long it was taking me per row. I don't remember what I said. Like 4 minutes? Okay, 2 more hours of knitting, according to my rough calculations. I could totally finish this. Maybe I could have gotten it done, but like in my time, in my week of knitting here, but I'm so glad to have gotten so much of this done. So yay. And then of course I finished my Afric sweater. So I'm not gonna put it on again because I don't feel like getting covered in mohair right now, and also it's like 30 degrees today. But I'm so happy with how this turned out. It's gonna be so nice to wear this winter. It feels very soft and squishy, and it's heavy. It's going to be warm. I really like the colorwork pattern on it. I think this is going to be a good pattern when it's released. So I think it comes out in October. There's like, I don't know how many people are in the test group. There's tons, lots of different color palettes that people have chosen, lots of different yarn options. So I think that'll be fun to look through once the pattern actually comes out. And I wanted to get both of my sleeves done on here, and I did. So yeah, that was a good accomplishment for my week. Oh, this is where I was at on my first sleeve. So I finished that sleeve and then knit the entire second sleeve, and now it's done. So it will get put away in a closet. Actually, I do need to block it. I wove in all my ends. It's not dangling with yarn anymore. Probably next time I knit a colorwork sweater with multiple changing colors, I will need to be better at weaving in my ends as I go. But otherwise, it's all set. So yeah, I will wash it, get the sleeves, stitches all evened out, and it will go in my cupboard until it is cold. It's the last week of summer, holidays here, and all of a sudden it's like 30 plus degrees every single day, which is like, that's nice. It's going to be hot for the long weekend, which you never know if it's going to be hot or rain or snow, but it'll be a little while before I'm wearing that. Okay, let's add up my knitting time. So I knit for 25 hours and 40 minutes, which is quite a bit of time in the course of a week, and also was probably less than normal because of my like down days. So yeah, it was kind of fun to keep track of it, and I feel really happy with what I got done this week. Like, I think I knew that I was going to get my Afric done. Feeling pretty pumped about how much I got done on this. So that's nice. We'll see what I work on this week now. Okay, let me tell you who won the giveaway from last time. So I did a random like comment picker thing for anybody who commented on my last episode using the word wool, and I've got those chosen here. I will put my email address in the description box below, and so if you're one of these two people, just like send me an email and we can make sure that we connect. So just to jog your memory, I'm giving away a copy of The True Cost of Wool alongside a set of mini skeins, and then another person is going to win just another set of mini skeins. So I had bought this to give away, and then Anna very generously threw in another set of mini skeins for me to be able to give away. And this is a collection of 4 different sheep breeds, Canadian grown and spun wool. And so I wanted a chance to spread the love a little bit about some lovely Canadian wool, and then also for somebody to be able to read her book. So the winners are, so first one here for the book and the wool is Janice B. NZ 1959. And Janice is from New Zealand, and so that's super exciting that this Canadian wool will make its way to New Zealand. So the other one is just the set of mini skeins without the book. Jacob, Corriedale, Rambouillet, and Targhee set. And that one is going to Elena. Hopefully that's how you say your name. Elena said, so great to hear about your projects and your woolly adventure. I love the tea towels. Oh, and she asked, how much wool can you fit in each of the cubes behind you in that shelf? And so hopefully my little tour in this episode gave you a bit of an idea of that. A lot, basically, is the answer. I can fit a lot of yarn into my cube storage. So thanks so much for being here. I'm glad that I get to send you some wool. Janice and Elena, you can send me an email and we'll connect. And everybody else, thanks for commenting on my last video. I hope that everybody will get a chance to try some Canadian wool one day. Also, with just the current state of things right now, find some local businesses to support. It's a stressful time right now for small businesses all over the world. With everything that's going on with tariffs and all of that. And so I'm glad that I can support Longway Homestead. I hope that you guys can all find a small business in your area that you can support in this wool industry. Pretty much every small business that I follow on social media has had to say that they're no longer shipping to the States right now, just with all the uncertainty about the tariffs. And that's a big blow to everybody's business. So I just shop small when you can, send them love in whatever way you're able to. It's tough right now for a lot of businesses, a lot of people. It's just tough times. So I'm glad that we get to continue to find our joy in our making and find our joy in finding cool materials to get used in our making. And I know that you guys relate to that as well. A little glimmer of joy in whatever you're making this week. So I hope that you guys enjoyed following me along this week. It was definitely a little bit more like behind the scenes into day-to-day life. Mostly still about the knitting, but that is also mostly my day-to-day life. So thank you for being here. You can find me on Instagram as @paper.knits, and I'm on Ravelry as This Is Paper Knits. I keep my projects pretty well up to date on Ravelry, and then I also kind of post more like in real time stuff on Instagram. But I really like being able to sit down and just do this as well. So thank you for being here. I will see you again in a couple of weeks. So happy knitting. Bye.